Hi everybody, welcome back to Mondays with Mike. Decided to do this outdoors again since it's finally nice out and it's not sweltering like it was this weekend. Hope everybody enjoyed their weekend and is ready for Memorial Day weekend here already. I told you I'd bring you a market update for May. And the numbers that I have are still reflective mostly of April's numbers because we don't have a full month yet. And we're actually just coming into the last week of May now. But I think they're still, telling, and it's not going to be a very different picture. Month over month, looks like the median home price across Long Island, that's Queens, Nassau, and Suffolk, actually went up 3.1%. Probably not a huge surprise to those, waiting on lines or looking for a house out there. And year over year, we're at 16%. Again, as we headed into May, on the ones that are pending, month over month, up 2.1%. Year over year, up almost 25%, 24.9% year over year. That's the price that something went into contract, again, end of April, early May, versus last year at the same time. Monthly closed sales activity down 10, almost 11% month over month. But again, that's reflective of what went into contract in the months prior. The silver lining for buyers, and actually for everybody, because this is a really tough market, if you're selling and you need to buy, so really it's hurting everybody. The available residential inventory. This is how you know that I don't do a lot of cuts, because I'm just going to work through that little blah. It's keeps it interesting. Available residential inventory up 6.8% month over month. So that's a good sign. When we look back at the full May numbers next month, we may see an increase there. We may see things start to balance out a little bit. And before we just jump off and I leave it at maybe it'll be a little different next month, but not too much different so far this month, there's one other thing I wanted to touch on, which if you're reading the news generally, maybe you're focused on it. We haven't seen a lot of new construction homes come on the market since the pandemic, well, depending on how you look at it, ended or started to lessen and get into this better phase that we're in now. What's been happening, though, and people are starting to talk about it generally in the economy, is that we're starting to see inflation, in particular for lumber. And I'm going to go really old school on you now. And I have actually my print copy from Friday of the Wall Street Journal, just because, and you don't have to really get that good a look at it, I thought this was a really good representation of the different commodities that have been going up in price. Lumber is this line here. These are the other materials and food commodities here. Lumber is up 278% since last year. That is most definitely affecting the cost to build houses. Now, we don't have enough info yet as to whether or not the bulk of that is getting passed on to the buyer. One thing we know is that spreads will definitely shrink for builders if they're not passing that on. So I would expect some of it to be passed on, and a lot of it's going to depend on the market's appetite. We're in a very tight supply market, so it wouldn't surprise me if most of that cost gets passed through to buyers. Why? Because there's not enough inventory and there's enough demand. That could change over time. So why did this happen? I was curious. In this article that I printed out, which I'm not going to read, right off the page. You can go check it out yourself. It had a couple of interesting points. One thing that it threw in there: $153 billion was cashed out of homes last year in refinances, and a lot of it went into home improvements. And if you're putting an extension or a dormer, you're going to be using lumber just like somebody who's building a new house or having somebody build them a new house. So that's a big one. Apparently, I didn't know this, sawmills, which shut down after the last crisis at the end of the last decade, 2009, I guess we're almost 2 decades ago now, they never really ramped up the sawmills again. There are some other factors too, but that's one that I was not really focused on. I thought that was kind of interesting. And they obviously had shutdowns because they couldn't have all their workers in. So all these things kind of build up, and it will be interesting to see in the coming months and year what happens to brand new homes. It's not as much of a factor in a place like Long Island because we just don't have the land where we have these huge developments. Other parts of the country where the inventory is much younger, new construction is much more common, and so part of what we'll be following is just the national trend there. But anyway, thought I would just leave you with some interesting points. Check it out. You can go on the Wall Street Journal archive, and there'll be more news about inflation coming out, I'm sure, and the impact it may have on interest rates, which directly affects housing prices. So stay tuned. And sorry, it was a little bit of a long one, I guess, but probably won't see you Memorial Day. Talk to you in June. Hope everybody has a great start to summer. Take care.